Commander Jake Morrison stood at the big window of his ship, looking out at the stars. His hands were shaking a little as he watched the computer screen show hundreds of red dots moving toward Earth. Each red dot was an alien warship, and there were more of them than he had ever seen before. "Sir, we are getting a message from the big alien ship," said Lieutenant Amy Brooks. She was sitting at her desk wearing her blue uniform with sweat on her face. Her voice was quiet, but everyone on the bridge could hear her. Jake walked over to her desk and looked at the screen. The message was short but scary. The aliens were giving Earth 3 days to give up completely or they would destroy every human on the planet. Jake had been in space for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "How many ships do they have?" Jake asked. "More than 300, sir," Amy said. "And they are all bigger than our biggest ships." Jake looked around the bridge. At his crew? They were all young people, most of them from Earth. They had joined the Space Navy to protect their home planet. But now they were facing an enemy that was much stronger than anything they had trained for. Captain Lisa Carter was sitting in the corner of the bridge, reading reports on her small computer. She worked for Earth Defense Command, and she knew more about the alien threat than anyone else on the ship. Her face was serious as she looked at the numbers. "Captain Carter, what do our reports say about their weapons?" Jake asked. Lisa looked up from her computer. "Their ships have energy shields. That can stop our missiles and lasers. They also have plasma cannons that can destroy a whole city with one shot. Our weapons can barely scratch their armor." The bridge became very quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Earth's entire fleet had only 50 ships, and most of them were old and slow. The aliens had 6 times as many ships, and each one was much more powerful than anything humans had built. Down on Earth, in a secret military base deep underground, Admiral Kevin Hayes was sitting in a dark room full of computer screens. He had been waiting for this day for 20 years. The aliens had been sending threatening messages to Earth for a long time, but now they were finally here to make good on their threats. Kevin picked up a red phone that was connected directly to the most secret part of the military. "This is Admiral Hayes. I'm giving you the code word Phantom. Begin Phase 1 immediately." On the other end of the phone, a voice said, "Understood, sir. Project Phantom is now active." Kevin put down the phone and looked at the biggest screen in the room. It showed the alien fleet moving closer to Earth. The aliens thought they knew everything about human technology, but they were wrong. For 20 years, Earth had been building something in secret. Something that no alien had ever seen before. The project had started when humans found strange metal pieces on Mars. Scientists had studied these pieces for years and learned how to make new kinds of technology. The most important discovery was how to make ships invisible to all kinds of sensors. Using this technology, Earth had built something amazing in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It was hidden among the rocks and ice, invisible to anyone who might be looking for it. Even most humans did not know it existed. Back on the HSS Defender, Jake was talking to his crew about their orders. "We need to get closer to the alien fleet and watch what they do. Earth Command wants to know how they fight before we make any plans." The ship moved slowly toward the alien fleet. The aliens were huge gray ships that looked like metal insects. They moved in perfect formation, like they had done this many times before. Their leader was a ship that was twice as big as all the others. "Sir, the aliens are moving into position around our moon," said Lieutenant Brooks. "It looks like they are getting ready to attack." Jake nodded. This was what Earth Command had expected. The aliens always did the same thing when they attacked the planet. First, they would destroy all the ships and space stations. Then they would attack the planet itself until the people gave up. "Send a message to Earth Command," Jake said. "Tell them the aliens are following their usual pattern." Down on Earth, people were scared. The news was showing pictures of the alien ships in space. Many people were trying to leave the big cities, but there was nowhere to go. The aliens could destroy the whole planet if they wanted to, but in the secret military base, Admiral Hayes was not scared. He was looking at a different screen that showed something the aliens could not see. In the asteroid belt, a massive shape was moving. It was bigger than any ship humans had ever built, and it was completely invisible to the alien sensors. The ship was called the HSS Leviathan, and it had been built using the most advanced technology humans had ever created. Its hull was made of a special metal that could absorb any kind of energy blast. Its weapons were more powerful than anything the aliens had ever seen. Inside the Leviathan, 15,000 people were preparing for battle. They had been training for this moment for years, but they had never been allowed to tell anyone about their mission. As far as the rest of the world knew, they did not exist. Captain Ryan Mitchell was walking through the ship's corridors, checking on his crew. The Leviathan was so big that it took 20 minutes to walk from one end to the other. It had thousands of rooms, including hangars that could hold 2,000 fighter ships. "How are the engines running?" Ryan asked Chief Engineer Maria Santos. "Perfect, sir," Maria said. "The power core is giving us more energy than we could ever use. We could fight for weeks without running out of power." The power core was the most amazing part of the ship. It used controlled black hole technology to create unlimited energy. The scientists had learned how to make tiny black holes and control them safely. It was technology that was hundreds of years ahead of what anyone else in the galaxy had. Ryan continued walking through the ship. He passed the weapon control rooms where teams of people were getting the guns ready. The Leviathan had weapons that could shoot chunks of metal at almost the speed of light. It also had special torpedoes that could break through any kind of shield. In the fighter hangars, pilots were checking their small ships. Lieutenant Chris Murphy was one of the best pilots on the ship. He had been flying fighters for 10 years, but he had never flown one like this. These fighters were faster and more maneuverable than anything the aliens had ever seen. "Are you ready for this, Chris?" asked Squadron Leader Katie Foster. "I have been ready for 20 years, Chris said. "Ever since I was a kid and heard about the alien threats on the news," Katie nodded. She knew that everyone on the ship felt the same way. They had all volunteered for this mission because they wanted to protect Earth and all the people living on it. The ship's computer, called Oracle, was calculating the best way to attack the alien fleet. It was the smartest computer ever built, and it could think faster than any human. It had studied every alien battle for the past 50 years and knew exactly how they fought. "The aliens always put their command ship in the center of their formation," Oracle told Captain Mitchell. "If we can destroy their command ship first, the rest of their fleet will be confused and easier to defeat." Ryan looked at the battle plan. On his screen, it was risky, but it might work. The Leviathan would have to get very close to the alien fleet and attack them all at once. If they could maintain the element of surprise, they might be able to win. Outside, the alien fleet was getting closer to Earth. They had no idea that the biggest and most powerful ship in human history was watching them, waiting for the right moment to attack. The alien flagship was a massive black ship that looked like a giant metal spider. It was 10 times bigger than any human ship and covered with weapons that glowed with purple energy. Inside this ship, Grand Admiral Zethkar was sitting on his command throne. Looking down at the small planet called Earth, Zethkar was 8 feet tall with dark green scales that covered his entire body. His eyes were yellow like a snake's, and his teeth were sharp as knives. He had conquered 43 worlds for the Galactic Empire, and each victory had made him more famous and more feared. "Bring me the human ambassador," Zethkar said to his guards. His voice was deep and scary, like the sound of rocks falling down a mountain. 2 alien guards brought Colonel Danny Roberts onto the bridge. Danny was a brave soldier who had volunteered to speak with the aliens. He was wearing his best military uniform, but he looked very small standing next to the huge alien warriors. "So you are the leader of the human military," Zethkar said, looking down at Danny with his yellow eyes. "I am here to represent Earth's government," Danny said. He was trying to sound brave, but his voice was shaking a little. Zethkar laughed, and the sound echoed through the bridge like thunder. "Your species amuses me, human. You have built some interesting machines, but you are still primitives compared to the Empire. Your weapons cannot hurt our ships, and your shields cannot stop our weapons." Danny stood straight and looked up at the alien admiral. "We will not surrender without a fight." "Fight?" Zethkar said. "What fight?" We have studied your technology for many years. Your biggest ships are toys compared to our smallest fighters. Your most powerful weapons are like throwing stones at a mountain. The alien admiral stood up from his throne and walked closer to Danny. I will be generous because your species shows promise. When we conquer your world, we will allow 30% of your people to live. They will work in our mines and factories. The rest will be eliminated to make room for proper citizens of the Empire. Danny felt sick hearing these words, but he did not let it show on his face. And if we refuse your offer, then we will turn your planet into dust and find another world to strip for resources, Zethkar said with a smile that showed all his sharp teeth. Far away from the alien flagship, hidden in the asteroid belt, the HSS Leviathan was preparing for battle. Captain Ryan Mitchell was walking through the ship's corridors, talking to his crew and making sure everyone was ready. The Leviathan was so big that it had its own cities inside. There were shopping areas, parks, and even small farms where food was grown. 15,000 people lived and worked on the ship, and most of them had never been anywhere else. Ryan stopped at the main engineering section where Chief Engineer Maria Santos was checking the ship's power systems. The engine room was huge with pipes and cables running everywhere. In the center was the power core, a sphere of special metal that contained a tiny black hole. How are we doing, Maria? Ryan asked. Better than perfect, sir, Maria said with a big smile. The power core is running at maximum efficiency. We have enough energy to fight for months without stopping. Ryan nodded and continued walking. The black hole technology was the most important secret on the ship. Scientists had learned how to create tiny black holes and control them safely. The black holes gave the ship unlimited power, enough to run weapons that could destroy entire fleets. In the weapon control rooms, teams of technicians were preparing the Leviathan's guns. The ship had weapons that no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. There were mass drivers that could shoot chunks of metal at nearly the speed of light. There were also exotic matter torpedoes that could break through any kind of shield or armor. Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson was in charge of the weapon systems. He had been working on these guns for 10 years, but he had never fired them in a real battle. Today would be the first time anyone would see what human technology could really do. Are all weapon systems ready? Pete asked his team. Yes, sir, said one of the technicians. All mass drivers are loaded and ready to fire. The exotic matter torpedoes are armed and waiting for your command. Pete looked at the screens showing the alien fleet. The aliens had no idea what was coming for them. They thought humans were weak and primitive, but they were about to learn how wrong they were. In the fighter hangars, 2,000 pilots were preparing their ships for battle. The hangar bays were enormous rooms filled with sleek fighter craft that looked like metal birds. Each fighter was equipped with the latest human technology and weapons that could punch through alien armor. Lieutenant Chris Murphy was sitting in his fighter, checking all the systems one last time. His ship was called the Hawk, and it was the fastest fighter ever built. It could fly at speeds that would kill a normal human, but Chris had been trained to handle the extreme forces. All pilots, this is Squadron Leader Katie Foster, came a voice over the radio. We have been training for this day for years. The aliens think they know how humans fight, but they have never seen anything like us. Katie was sitting in her own fighter in the hangar next to Chris. She was one of the best pilots in the human fleet, and she had been chosen to lead the first attack on the alien command ship. Remember, Katie continued, we are not just fighting for Earth, we are fighting for every human who will ever live. We are fighting to show the galaxy that humans are not weak or primitive. We are fighting to prove that no one can push us around. All the pilots cheered over the radio. They knew this would be the most important battle in human history. If they won, Earth would be safe. If they lost, the human race would be destroyed. The ship's computer, Oracle, was calculating the best way to attack the alien fleet. It had studied every battle the aliens had ever fought, and it knew exactly how they would react in different situations. Captain Mitchell, Oracle said in its calm computer voice, I have finished analyzing the alien formation. Their command ship is in the center, protected by their strongest battleships. If we can destroy the command ship quickly, the rest of their fleet will be confused and easier to defeat. Ryan looked at the battle plan on his screen. How long do we have before they start attacking Earth? Based on their current position and speed, they will begin their attack in 6 hours, Oracle replied. Ryan nodded. That gave them enough time to get into position and prepare for the surprise attack. The aliens would never expect a human ship to be as big and powerful as the Leviathan. Dr. Helen Turner was in the science section of the ship, studying the alien technology they had captured over the years. She was a brilliant scientist who had helped design many of the Leviathan's weapons and systems. Captain, Helen said over the communication system, I have been analyzing the alien energy signatures. Their shields work by deflecting energy attacks, but they have never encountered kinetic weapons moving at the speeds our mass drivers can achieve. What does that mean? Ryan asked. It means our weapons will go right through their shields like they are not even there, Helen said with excitement. In her voice, this was the best news Ryan had heard all day. The aliens had been using the same shield technology for hundreds of years, and they had never met an enemy that could break through it. But humans had developed a completely different approach to space combat. Meanwhile, back on the alien flagship, Zethkar was giving orders to his fleet commanders. Begin the attack on their outer defenses. I want to see how these humans fight before we destroy their planet. The alien ships began moving toward Earth's moon, where the human defense stations were located. Zethkar was confident that this would be an easy victory. After all, he had conquered 43 worlds, and humans were just another primitive species, but hidden in the asteroid belt, the HSS Leviathan was beginning to move. The massive ship activated its stealth systems and became completely invisible to all sensors. It was like a ghost ship, moving silently through space toward the alien fleet. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display. All crew, prepare for battle. This is what we have trained for our entire lives. Today, we show the galaxy what humans can do. The alien fleet began its attack on Earth's defense stations around the moon. Grand Admiral Zethkar watched from his command throne as purple energy beams shot out from his ships, hitting the human space stations one by one. Each blast created a bright explosion that lit up the darkness of space. Pathetic, Zethkar said to his officers. Their defenses are even weaker than I expected. This will be over in less than an hour. The human defense stations were fighting back with everything they had. Missiles flew through space toward the alien ships, but most of them bounced off the energy shields without doing any damage. The few that got through only made small scratches on the thick alien armor. Commander Jake Morrison was still watching the battle from his reconnaissance ship. He could see the human stations being destroyed one by one, and his heart was breaking. These were good people, brave soldiers who were dying to protect Earth. Sir, Earth Command is asking for our status report, said Lieutenant Amy Brooks. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet. They were arranged in a perfect circle around Earth's moon, with the biggest ships in the center and the smaller ones on the outside. It was exactly the formation that Earth's military had expected them to use. Tell Earth Command that the aliens are following Pattern 7, Jake said. All ships are in position for the planned response. Amy sent the message, not knowing what it really meant. She did not know about the secret project hidden in the asteroid belt, or about the massive ship that was about to change everything. Far away from the battle, the HSS Leviathan was moving through space like a giant ghost. Its stealth systems made it completely invisible to all sensors, and its engines were so quiet that even the most sensitive listening devices could not detect it. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display that showed both the alien fleet and his own ship's position. The Leviathan was approaching the alien formation from behind, where they would never expect an attack. Distance to target? Ryan asked. 50,000 kilometers in closing, reported Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson. All weapons are ready to fire on your command. Ryan looked around the bridge at his crew. These were the best people Earth had to offer, and they had been training for this moment their entire lives. Today, They would show the galaxy what humans could do when they were pushed too far. Oracle, confirm the target priority, Ryan said to the ship's computer. Confirmed, Captain, Oracle replied. Primary target is the alien command ship. Secondary targets are the heavy battleships protecting it. Tertiary targets are the weapon platforms along the perimeter. Ryan nodded. The plan was simple but dangerous. The Leviathan would decloak right behind the alien fleet and attack their command ship first. If they could destroy the alien admiral and his flagship, the rest of the fleet would be confused and easier to defeat. In the fighter hangars, 2,000 pilots were sitting in their cockpits, waiting for the order to launch. Squadron leader Katie Foster was in the lead fighter, her hands gripping the controls as she watched the countdown timer on her screen. All pilots, this is Foster, she said over the radio. We launch in 60 seconds. Remember your training. Watch out for each other and show these aliens what human fighters can do. Lieutenant Chris Murphy was sitting in his fighter right next to Katie's. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady on the controls. He had been dreaming of this moment since he was a child, when he first heard about the alien threats to Earth. 30 seconds to launch, Katie announced. Throughout the ship, 15,000 crew members were at their battle stations. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Maria Santos was monitoring the power core, making sure it was ready to provide unlimited energy for the coming battle. All systems are green, Maria reported to the bridge. The power core is stable and ready for maximum output. In the weapon control rooms, teams of technicians were preparing the Leviathan's incredible arsenal. The mass drivers were loaded with solid metal projectiles that would be accelerated to nearly the speed of light. The exotic matter torpedoes were armed and ready to tear through any shield or armor. 15 seconds to launch, Katie said. Ryan looked at the main screen, which showed the alien fleet still firing on Earth's defense stations. The aliens had no idea that death was approaching them from behind. They thought they were the strongest force in the galaxy, but they were about to learn how wrong they were. 10 seconds, Ryan said to his crew. Remember, we are not just fighting. For Earth, we are fighting for the future of humanity. The countdown reached 0, and Ryan gave the order that would change galactic history forever. Decloak the ship and open fire. The space around the alien fleet suddenly lit up as the HSS Leviathan appeared out of nowhere. The massive ship was 3 times bigger than the largest alien battleship, and it was covered with weapons that immediately began firing. The first shots from the Leviathan's mass drivers hit the alien command ship before anyone could react. The metal projectiles, moving at incredible speed, punched through the alien shields like they were made of paper. The command ship's armor, which had never been penetrated by any weapon, cracked and shattered under the assault. Impossible! Zethkar screamed as his flagship shook from the impacts. Where did that ship come from? His bridge crew was in panic, running around and shouting orders that no one could hear over the sound of explosions. The alien admiral grabbed his communications officer and demanded answers. How did they hide a ship that big? Zethkar roared. Our sensors can detect anything larger than a fighter. At the same time, the Leviathan's fighter bays opened and 2,000 human fighters poured out like angry bees. Squadron leader Katie Foster led the first wave directly toward the alien command ship, while Lieutenant Chris Murphy took his group to attack the alien communication arrays. The alien ships tried to turn and fight back, but they were caught completely off guard. Their formation was designed to attack a planet, not to defend against a surprise attack from behind. The human fighters moved so fast and in such unpredictable patterns that the alien gunners could not track them. All fighters, this is Foster, Katie said over the radio. Attack pattern Delta. Hit their command ship with everything you have. Chris Murphy's fighter group swooped down on the alien communication towers, firing their new plasma cannons. The alien ships had never seen weapons like these before. The human plasma was different from their own, designed to disrupt electronic systems rather than just destroy armor one by one. The alien ships lost their ability to communicate with each other. Without coordination, they began firing wildly, in all directions, sometimes hitting their own ships by mistake. The Leviathan's main weapons continued to fire in perfect sequence. Each shot was calculated by Oracle to do maximum damage to the alien formation. The exotic matter torpedoes created cascading explosions that disabled multiple ships at once. "Sir, their command ship is losing power," reported Pete Johnson. "2 more hits and it will be destroyed." Ryan nodded and gave the order for the final assault. The Leviathan's biggest guns charged up with energy from the black hole power core and fired simultaneously. The beams of pure energy hit the alien flagship and tore it apart in a massive explosion that could be seen from Earth. Admiral Zethkar had just enough time to realize that he had underestimated the humans before his ship exploded around him. The most feared admiral in the Galactic Empire died without ever understanding how the primitives had defeated him, with their command ship destroyed. The alien fleet fell into chaos. Some ships tried to retreat while others continued fighting. Without any coordination, the human fighters darted between the massive alien vessels, hitting weak points and causing internal explosions. "Sir, we are receiving surrender signals from 17 alien ships," Amy Brooks reported from her reconnaissance vessel, but Ryan was not finished. The aliens had come to destroy Earth and enslave humanity. They had threatened to kill billions of innocent people. Now they would learn what happened when you threatened the human race. "Continue the attack," Ryan ordered. "No mercy for those who would destroy our home." The battle was over in 6 hours. Where once there had been a mighty alien fleet of over 300 ships, now there was only floating wreckage and a few damaged vessels limping away into deep space. The SS Leviathan floated among the debris, like a giant metal mountain. Its hull barely scratched from the fight. Captain Ryan Mitchell walked through the corridors of his ship, checking on his crew. The medical bay was busy treating wounded fighters, but the casualties were much lighter than anyone had expected. The aliens had been so surprised by the attack that they barely had time to fight back effectively. "Captain, we are getting messages from Earth," said Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson. "The President wants to speak with you personally." Ryan nodded and headed to the main communication room. On the big screen, he could see the President of Earth sitting in the White House, with several military leaders standing behind him. The President looked tired but happy. "Captain Mitchell, on behalf of all humanity, I want to thank you and your crew for saving our world," the President said. "What you accomplished today will be remembered forever." "Thank you, sir," Ryan replied. "But we all know this is just the beginning. The aliens will send more ships when they learn what happened here." The President's face became serious. "That is exactly what we need to talk about. Admiral Hayes will brief you on the next phase of the operation." Admiral Kevin Hayes stepped forward on the screen. He was the man who had started Project Phantom 20 years ago, and he knew better than anyone what the victory meant for Earth's future. "Captain, the Empire has over 1,000 worlds and millions of ships," Hayes said. "When they learn that their fleet was destroyed by a single human vessel, they will send everything they have to destroy us." Ryan had been expecting this. The aliens were proud and cruel, and they would never accept defeat from what they considered a primitive species. The real war was just beginning. "What are your orders, sir?" Ryan asked. "You will receive sealed instructions within the hour," Hayes replied. "For now, make sure your ship is ready for a long journey." Down in the engineering section, Chief Engineer Maria Santos was working with her teams to repair the minor damage from the battle. The Leviathan's armor had protected it from most of the alien weapons, but a few shots had gotten through and damaged some of the outer systems. "How are we doing, Maria?" Ryan asked when he visited the engine room. "Better than I hoped, sir," Maria said with a smile. "The power core performed perfectly, and we used less than 5% of our total energy reserves. We could fight 10 more battles like this without needing to refuel." Ryan was impressed but not surprised. The black hole technology was so advanced that it could provide power for decades without running out. The real limitation was not energy, but the wear and tear on the ship's systems from constant use. In the science section, Dr. Helen Turner was studying the wreckage of alien ships that had been brought aboard the Leviathan. She was particularly interested in their weapons and shield technology, which could be reverse engineered to improve Earth's defenses. "Captain, you need to see this," Helen said when Ryan came to her laboratory. She was holding a piece of alien metal that glowed with a strange blue light. "What is it?" Ryan asked. "This is from their shield generators," Helen explained. "The technology is actually quite simple, but they have been using it for so long that they never bothered to improve it. Our weapons work so well because we approached the problem from a completely different angle." Ryan examined the alien metal. It was lighter than steel, but much stronger, and it seemed to absorb energy rather than reflect it. "Can we use this to improve our own ships?" "Absolutely," Helen said. "Give me a few months and I can upgrade our armor and weapons using their technology. The next generation of human ships will be even more powerful than the Leviathan." This was excellent news, but Ryan knew that it would take years to build enough ships to defend Earth from a full alien invasion. For now, the Leviathan was the only thing standing between humanity and destruction. In the fighter hangars, Squadron Leader Katie Foster was talking to her pilots about the battle. Many of them were young and had never been in real combat before, but they had performed like veterans. "You all did great today," Katie said to the group of pilots gathered around her. "The aliens had never seen human fighters before, and they could not adapt to our tactics." Lieutenant Chris Murphy raised his hand. "Ma'am, what happens now? Do we go back to Earth?" Katie looked at the faces of her pilots. They were all excited about their victory, but they also knew that their families and friends on Earth were still in danger. "I do not know yet," she said honestly. "We will have to wait for orders from Earth Command." The truth was that Katie had already heard rumors about the next phase of the mission. The Leviathan would not be returning to Earth anytime soon. Instead, it would be heading out into deep space on a mission that was even more secret than Project Phantom. Meanwhile, on Earth, the news of the victory was spreading around the world. People were celebrating in the streets, and there were parties in every major city. For the first time in months, humans felt safe and proud of their species, but in the secret military bases, the mood was more serious. General Frank Williams was meeting with other military leaders to discuss the implications of the victory. They knew that the aliens would not give up easily. "We have maybe 6 months before they send a bigger fleet," General Williams said. "We need to use that time to prepare every defense we can." The military leaders were already working on plans to build more ships like the Leviathan, but the technology was so advanced that it would take years to produce even one more vessel. Earth's factories were not designed to build black hole power cores or exotic matter weapons. "What about the other secret projects?" asked one of the generals. "Are there any other ships we can use?" General Williams shook his head. "The Leviathan is the only completed ship from Project Phantom. The others are still under construction and will not be ready for at least 5 years. This was the harsh reality that Earth's leaders faced. They had won a great victory, but they were still vastly outnumbered by the Galactic Empire. The aliens had thousands of worlds and millions of ships, while Earth had only one secret supercarrier. Back on the Leviathan, Ryan received the sealed orders from Earth Command. He read them carefully in his private cabin, and his face became very serious. The orders were not what he had expected, but they made sense given the strategic situation. The HS Leviathan was to be declared destroyed in the battle. According to the official records, the ship had sacrificed itself to save Earth's defense stations. There would be a memorial service for the crew, and they would all be listed as heroes who died defending their homeworld. But in reality, the ship and its crew would disappear. They would become ghosts, officially dead, but still fighting for humanity's survival. The Leviathan would establish a secret base in an uncharted star system, where it would wait for the aliens to return. Ryan called his senior officers to a meeting in the main conference room. When they were all gathered, he shared the contents of the orders with them. "We are about to become officially dead," Ryan said. "As far as the rest of the galaxy knows, the HSS Leviathan was destroyed in the battle against the alien fleet. Our families will be told that we died as heroes. The officers looked at each other with serious expressions. They had all known that this mission would require great sacrifices, but they had not expected to give up their very identities. "Sir, what about our families?" asked Katie Foster. "Will they ever know the truth?" Ryan shook his head sadly. "Not until the war is over. We are making the ultimate sacrifice for humanity. We are giving up our lives, our names, and our connections to everything we love so that Earth can survive." The room was quiet for a long moment, then Pete Johnson spoke up. "Sir, I think I speak for everyone when I say that we knew what we were signing up for. We are ready to do whatever it takes to protect Earth." All the other officers nodded in agreement. They were soldiers and they understood duty. If becoming ghosts was what it took to save humanity, then that was what they would do. Ryan looked at each of his officers, feeling proud and sad at the same time. These were the best people he had ever known, and they were about to disappear from history forever. 3 days after the Great Battle, alien scout ships began returning to Earth's solar system. They moved carefully through the debris field where their fleet had been destroyed, scanning the wreckage with their sensors and trying to understand what had happened. Captain Ryan Mitchell watched the alien scouts from the bridge of the HS Leviathan. His ship was completely invisible to their sensors, hidden by the most advanced stealth technology humans had ever created. The aliens flew right past the massive supercarrier without knowing it was there. "Sir, we are receiving the final authorization. Codes from Earth Command," said Lieutenant Commander Pete Johnson. His voice was quiet and sad because he knew what these codes meant. Ryan took the message and read it carefully. The time had come for the Leviathan and its crew to disappear forever. According to the plan, they would fake the ship's destruction, and then vanish into deep space, where they would wait for the next alien attack. "All crew, this is Captain Mitchell," Ryan announced over the ship's communication system. "In 1 hour, we will begin Operation Ghost Ship. As of today, we no longer exist." Throughout the ship, 15,000 crew members prepared for the most difficult mission of their lives. They packed away their personal belongings and said goodbye to their old identities. From now on, they would be soldiers without names, fighting a war that no one would ever know about. In the science section, Dr. Helen Turner activated the ship's most advanced stealth systems. These were not the same systems they had used during the battle. This was experimental technology that could make the Leviathan invisible to every type of sensor known to science. "Stealth field is activating," Helen reported to the bridge. "In 30 minutes, we will be completely undetectable." The stealth field used technology that bent light and energy around the ship, making it seem like empty space. Even if someone flew right through the area where the Leviathan was located, their sensors would show nothing there. Ryan walked through the ship one last time, visiting each section and talking to his crew. In the fighter hangars, Squadron Leader Katie Foster was explaining the new mission to her pilots. "We are about to become ghosts," Katie said to the 2,000 fighter pilots gathered before her. "As far as the galaxy knows, we died heroes, defending Earth, but we will still be here, watching and waiting." Lieutenant Chris Murphy raised his hand. "Ma'am, how long will we have to stay hidden?" Katie looked at the young pilot with sad eyes. "Until the war is over, Chris. It could be years, or it could be decades. We may never see our families again." The pilots understood what this meant. They were giving up everything they had ever known to protect Earth. Their families would think they were dead, and they would never be able to contact them again. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Maria Santos was preparing the ship for its long journey into deep space. The black hole power core would keep the ship running for many years, but they would need to find a secret base where they could hide and maintain their equipment. "The power core is stable and ready for extended operations," Maria reported to Ryan when he visited her section. "We can travel for months without stopping, and we have enough supplies to last for years." Ryan nodded and continued his tour of the ship. In the weapon control rooms, teams of technicians were preparing the Leviathan's arsenal for storage. The exotic matter torpedoes and mass drivers would be kept ready for use, but they would hopefully not be needed for a long time. As the stealth field activated, The HSS Leviathan began to fade from all sensors. On Earth, the military leaders watched as their most powerful ship disappeared from their tracking systems. It was like watching a loved one die. Even though they knew the ship and crew were still alive, Admiral Kevin Hayes stood in the secret command center, looking at the empty screen where the Leviathan had been just moments before. He was proud of what they had accomplished, but he was also sad about what it had cost. "Sir, the alien scouts are sending their report back to the Empire," reported one of the technicians. "They are telling their leaders that all human ships were destroyed in the battle." This was exactly what Earth's leaders had hoped for. The aliens would think that humans had no more secret weapons, and they would underestimate Earth's defenses when they returned with a larger fleet. "What about the fake wreckage?" Hayes asked. "The debris field is perfect, sir," the technician replied. "The aliens will find pieces of metal that look like they came from a human supercarrier. They will never suspect that the ship escaped." The fake wreckage had been prepared weeks before the battle. Earth's engineers had built fake hull sections and scattered them through space to make it look like the Leviathan had been destroyed. The deception was so complete that even human sensors could not tell the difference. Meanwhile, in the asteroid belt, the real HS Leviathan was beginning its journey to a secret location that only a few people knew about. The ship moved silently through space, invisible to all sensors and leaving no trace of its passage. Ryan stood on the bridge, watching the stars move past as his ship traveled deeper into space. He thought about his family back on Earth, who would soon receive news that he had died in the battle. His wife and children would mourn for him, never knowing that he was still alive. "Captain, we are approaching the coordinates for our new base," reported the navigation officer. The secret base was located in an uncharted star system, far from any traveled space routes. It had been prepared years before as part of Project Phantom, with supplies and equipment hidden on a small moon orbiting a dead planet. "Take us into orbit around the moon," Ryan ordered. "Deploy the camouflage systems and prepare for extended operations." The Leviathan settled into a stable orbit around the small moon, where it would remain hidden for as long as necessary. The ship's outer hull changed color to match the surrounding space, making it even more difficult to detect. On Earth, the news reports were telling the story of humanity's great victory over the alien fleet. The reporters spoke of the heroic sacrifice of the HSS Leviathan and its crew, who had given their lives to save the planet. There were memorial services in every major city, and statues were being planned to honor the fallen heroes, but in the secret military bases, preparations were already beginning for the next alien attack. Earth's factories were working around the clock to build new ships and weapons, using the technology recovered from the alien wreckage. General Frank Williams was meeting with scientists and engineers, trying to figure out how to build more ships like the Leviathan. The task seemed impossible with current technology, but they had to try. "We need at least 10 more ships like the Leviathan," Williams said. "If the aliens come back with their full fleet, one ship will not be enough to stop them." The scientists shook their heads sadly. "Sir, it took 20 years to build the Leviathan using technology we barely understood. We would need at least 15 years to build another one, assuming we can solve the technical problems." This was the harsh reality that Earth faced. They had won a great victory, but they were still desperately outnumbered. The Leviathan was their only hope, and now it had to remain hidden to maintain the element of surprise. Back on the hidden ship, Ryan called his crew together for one final meeting. 15,000 people gathered in the main hangar bay, listening as their captain explained their new mission. "We are no longer part of Earth's official military," Ryan said. "We are ghosts, existing only to protect humanity from threats that no one else can handle. When the aliens return, we will be ready for them." The crew cheered, but it was a sad sound. They knew they were making the ultimate sacrifice for their species, giving up their very existence to keep Earth safe. "Our families will remember us as heroes who died fighting," Ryan continued. "But we know the truth. We are still here, still fighting, still protecting the people we love." As the SS Leviathan settled into its new role as a ghost ship, hidden, sensors throughout the galaxy began detecting increased alien activity. The Galactic Empire was mobilizing its forces for a massive counterattack, assembling the largest fleet in their history, but they did not know that humanity's greatest weapon was waiting for them, invisible and ready to strike when they least expected it. The ghost ship that had stunned the galaxy would remain hidden until the moment came to defend Earth once again.